Good morning. My name is Dwayne Westcott. I'm an ordained minister from the Universal Life Church. I hold an honorary doctorate degree of divinity. Today we're going to talk about overcoming adversity. How many of you have ever had to deal with adversity? Whatever it be, at home, work, school, giving a speech. Today I'm going to talk about a man named Daniel from the Old Testament and the Holy Bible. How he was faced with great adversity and how he overcame it. Every one of us deals with struggles in our daily lives. How would you deal with if your country was overtaken and you were taken to another country, sold as a slave? King Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians conquered the land of Judah and took the young men slaves. Daniel was one of them. They had to train these slaves in Babylonian ways: literature, language, religion, everything, so they could serve in the royal palace. The king even changed the names of these Jewish slaves so they could have no identity. Daniel became Belshazzar. Daniel helped, being the faithful Jewish man he was, refused to defile himself by eating the king's food. He asked the guard who was put in charge of him if he could eat vegetables and water. The guard told him that he can't really do that because if he was unhealthy, it would be his head. Daniel said, "Give me 10 days. If I am not healthier than the rest of your slaves, I will do whatever you say." So the guard agreed. And after 10 days, Daniel was healthier than those who ate the king's food. So he was allowed to eat his vegetables and water. His beliefs were so strong that his God allowed him to do that and moved the guard to allow Daniel to continue. After 3 years of training, the king gathered all the slaves and decided to see how they were trained, see how their training went. He was really impressed with Daniel. One night, the king had a disturbing dream, and he called all his sorcerers, his magicians, and enchanters, and all of them to tell him what he dreamed and to interpret it. None of them could. They said, "Tell us what you dreamed, and we'll interpret for you." He said that you should be able to tell me what I dreamed and interpret it for me. They said, "No man can." Then he sentenced them to death. He says, "If you guys can't, all of you," and this would include Daniel. When Daniel heard about this, he said, "I want counsel with the king." He went up to the king and he said, "I can interpret your dream. Give me a day." The king agreed. The following day, Daniel told the king what he dreamed and interpreted it. The king spared his life because no man could. He said that Daniel's God gave him the visions of his dream. And although Daniel was a captive in the king's court, he was still a captive. Knowing he would never see his homeland again, his faith and beliefs never failed. Many years later, another king rose up. It was King Nebuchadnezzar's son, King Belshazzar. This time was short. One night during a great feast he had for his noblemen, the arrogant king took all the wine glasses from the Jewish temple and decided to drink from them, which was a big no-no. All of a sudden, a hand appeared with no body and started writing on the wall. No one could interpret it, what it was saying. Then one person said, go ask your father's servant Daniel. Maybe he can interpret it. They called Daniel, and Daniel interpreted what the writing was on the wall and told the king that his time was short and he would not live through the night. The king had made a promise to anyone who could interpret it that they would be clothed in purple robes, gold chain around their neck, and be ranked third highest in the country, in the kingdom. The king kept his promise. That night, he was killed. Now the new king, the king of the Medes, King Darius, they came, Daniel even told the new king, as he entered the palace, that he knew he was coming. How he was coming. King Darius was wondering how. He said, my God told me. That kind of impressed the king, the new king. So he kept his rank from the previous king. He was third highest rank. King Darius made him even a higher officer. He made him governor of the entire kingdom. This angered the king's own men, and they decided they were going to plot against him. Knowing that Daniel prayed 3 times a day to his Jewish God, the king's men decided to become a law that those who prayed to anybody but the king would be put to death through the lion's den. The king signed this into law for 30 days, unaware of what he was doing. Daniel kept his praying and all that 3 times a day, and the king's men knew this. One night, he was praying, and the king's men charged him to his room, took him captive, took him in front of the king and said, we found him praying to his God. Now, the king had great favor with Daniel, and he knew he had been tricked as soon as Daniel was brought before him. So he had to uphold the law. He told Daniel, he goes, I have to uphold the law. You have to go into the lion's den. But I pray that your God will save you. Daniel went into the lion's den. King couldn't sleep at night. Next morning, he ran down to the lion's den. He goes, Daniel, are you still alive? Did your God save you? Daniel replied, yes, I am still alive. He, released Daniel, and he took the men who conspired against Daniel and threw them, their wives, and their children into the lion's den, and not one of them walked out. He still kept Daniel's rank as the governor of the kingdom and praised to Daniel's God as the one and only God. As we see, Daniel had great adversity throughout his life, being captured, being a slave, but through his beliefs in his God, he never faltered. He, interpreted dreams, writing on the wall, his God gave him visions and dreams. And all the kings that he was under praised his God after seeing these miracles. Next time you're faced with adversity, no matter how big or small, how will you overcome it? Will you let it defeat you, or will you let it define you?
Good job. That's all I can